Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I am also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over micro expressions and behaviors. A lot of them are expressions, but I just put behaviors in there as well. That means a lady is showing interest towards you, and likely it means that she wants you to initiate, or maybe that she's going to initiate, but more commonly, women still expect men to initiate. And I know you guys don't like that, but I just am being honest. But before we actually get into this, I do want to define micro expressions / micro behaviors as to what that means so that you can understand why that part is so significant. It's typically shown, these expressions or behaviors, in a short window of time. They're often involuntary, typically facial expressions, that reveal genuine emotions. It usually lasts less than a second, although it can maybe be more than that, but typically it's going to be less than a second. There's going to be some change towards it, at least within that second. While it can show attraction, and typically it does, it's usually in the context of more than one of these signals, kind of like a cluster or a group of these behaviors, not necessarily just one isolated behavior or expression. And the micro expression work that I want to talk about, Ekman, I believe, is the researcher, where he worked on micro expressions and these types of behaviors pretty extensively. It's quite old, but he's also submitted some new research as well that basically shows these brief facial expressions actually reflect true emotion, and they're typically involuntary, and what I thought was interesting is they are universal across cultures. He did study that, and that means that because I'm in the United States, a lot of things that I talk about are a little bit more specific to the United States, but this one is actually not, and we can see that based on that research, and it's going to be in the description box. But the first one is a smile. Obviously, it's going to be a quick smile, but what we are seeing is that this is a genuine smile that engages both the mouth and then the eyes. Usually it's going to be like a crinkling of the corners, not all the time, but it's that expression to which your eyes are also engaged within that smile. And this is interesting because it's going to be very, like we had mentioned, involuntary, and sometimes it's going to be incredibly brief, but it doesn't mean it's going to not. It doesn't mean it's just going to happen once. It might happen a couple times throughout the conversation. If it's a stranger, it might be they're staring at you and then they might quickly smile, they might look away. And so that's what I meant by a cluster of these behaviors. It's not just going to be just one thing, because that could be maybe they were thinking about something and they feel embarrassed, whatever it is. It's usually a couple of these things that signify attraction. The next one is actually raising their eyebrows, but what's interesting, it's usually both, and that's because they're engaging in a lot of sometimes thought, but also it can be that they're unaware of their attractiveness, but there is some sort of emotion tied. Their emotions are tied to attractiveness is the best way to put it. When we see something that someone we find attractive or we like them, there is an emotion. And usually the raising of both eyebrows kind of signifies that from an external perspective. And like I had mentioned, it's going to be rather quick, but with these together, it might be a quick smile and then raising the eyebrows. Those are already two micro expressions that happen relatively quickly that allows you to actually understand, okay, this is probably a woman that likes me. And I think this video is important in general because a lot of ladies show interest and they don't do anything but show it. They don't initiate. And so a lot of times I personally feel like a lot of men that don't know this, there's a lot of girls that probably liked you, but you just didn't know and she never said anything, which I understand is really frustrating on your side. But I think that it's why this video is important in social skills in general and just giving it a try if that's what you're looking for. Because what's going to happen is you're going to start picking these things up and learning as you go. And you may start recognizing these things much quicker, into which you're able to figure out which girl likes you and which one doesn't. The next one is that she's looking at you and then she looks away and then she looks again. So it's not a gaze, even though that's also a sign, but that's not a micro expression. This is where you can see glancing back and forth at you. And this is, as we had discussed, attraction, but sometimes it's, I don't want to say shyness, but sometimes she might, without even realizing it, she might feel embarrassed as to catching herself looking, or she might feel uncomfortable if you looked at her. So what it could be is that she was looking at you for a long period of time, and once you looked at her, she looks away and then she looks back again. The looking away is the part that is the more subconscious part, or it's very intuitive, because she does want to look at you, but her initial response is she shouldn't be looking at you, which is where the looking away comes. But then she looks back again because she's still engaged in that attraction. And the last one is rapid blinking. Now, this is usually if you're in close proximity. This one, I don't really know how else to describe it other than it's a little bit more higher frequency of blinking. And normally it's when your faces are closer. So, as I had mentioned, it's not one of these behaviors, it's usually a couple of these, but I want to talk about what we were talking about a little bit earlier, like a cluster of these behaviors or a group of these behaviors, to which we can create a better picture of a woman who is attracted to you or who wants you to initiate, okay? So I guess this is like the strategy of how these things kind of combine together. As we had mentioned, research does suggest that strong evidence comes from attraction from multiple signals in context with a lot of these things. And so all of these things we're going to call signals for this part of the video, expressions, behaviors, whatever it is. And in conjunction with these micro expressions, once you actually have a little bit more communication with her, you should start seeing more consistent eye contact, more genuine smiles, posture moving towards you or open towards you. And then as that relationship progresses even further, so this is after you had already decided this woman likes you, you can start seeing that she may ask a little bit more personal questions. She may make time to be with you, and she might have more positive reactions. And so putting this all together, once you see her micro expressions and you see she has a couple of these clusters of behaviors, you go up to her or she goes up to you or whatever it is. And as you continue that stage, even if you're having a conversation with her, even if you didn't say that you want her number, right? Maybe you haven't done that yet, but you're just, okay, this girl is making these micro expressions. Let me go up and talk to her. And then at that point, you might start seeing that she has that open posture towards you. She has more consistent eye contact. She's genuinely smiling. And then at that point, you have enough data from her micro expressions and now more foundational behaviors that you have realized you've collected all of these behaviors and think, okay, this is an opportunity to actually make something forward, or maybe you can signal your interest, whatever it is. And that is a better picture of what you can do. So in other words, the best way to put it is patterns are more significant, particularly with women and how they feel and their attraction, in comparison to isolated cues. Men are a little bit more, it doesn't have to be isolated, but typically men, when they're interested, if they're not interested, they don't typically engage too much with a person in general. Women are more naturally raised and maybe genetically to be a bit more nurturing. I think that part is genetic, but biological, sorry, not genetic. I'm all over the place, I apologize. But women are more naturally drawn to being more kinder to people in general. They're a little bit more likely to be more friendly or not turn people down if she's not interested. And so that's why it's a little bit more tricky to want to understand the patterns of what's going on. Whereas men, if they like you, it's a little bit more clear. And if they don't like you, it's also clear, not all the time. And so that's why I made this video. The research is in the description box. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.